How about a good old boys? Me and Chris on the internet one day. Chris said to Neil, let's make a podcast, boy. Come on now, what do you say? Well, what will this podcast be about? Said Neil with a tear in his eye. About stories that people tell each other from Louisiana Pie to the city of Mumbai. Oh, you mean urban legends. And the podcast was Urban Legends with Neil and Chris. You take care, y'all. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Urban Legends, the podcast about urban legends and adjacent nonsense. I am the new spokesperson for Bathsalts, both the relaxing aquatic treat and also synthetic cathinoids, Chris Flynn. And with me, as always, is a man who has just opened up the UK's first wheelbarrow modding shop. It's Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Hi Neil, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Yeah, going all right actually.
Yeah, your wheelbarrow modding shop opened with quite a fanfare. I believe it was you got a spread in the Guardian. So what's it like? One of those pimp my wheelbarrow kind of things like they have in America?
Well, no, I just make very, very trendy, kind of artistic-looking wheelbarrows. So it's a bit like, I don't know if you remember that, the Philip Stark lemon squeezer. And you would, it looked very phallic, like a phallic spider. And then you
crushing a lemon onto your penis.
And you would crush a lemon and it would just go all over you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is I've made a wheelbarrow inspired by Sir James Dyson of Singapore's earliest of inventions. I don't know if you know this, Chris. He did a wheelbarrow with a ball on the front.
Yes, I've seen that.
3D, so then it doesn't slip around. The wheels come over. I've instead made it into a cube.
A cube? That's very stable, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very stable, but
difficult to move.
Overly critical people would say, it's difficult to move, but I think, the inherent style, I mean, the fact that the whole thing is made out of like cast iron as well, makes it quite heavy.
Bronze and chrome.
There's bronze filigree work, yeah.
Well, I mean, is it meant for actual, down the allotment wheelbarrowing work, or is it more to pop into your astroturfed back garden and put plants in?
Yeah, I'd suggest it's more a kind of Marie Antoinette kind of purchase. If you're a hammer, or just you put it there, and it looks very nice in a rustic setting, but kind of futuristic at the same time.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting. Has it got any kind of neon lights underneath, so it looks like it's hovering?
No, I didn't. I've not been inspired by the people driving up and down Madeira Drive on time. That's something
Have you not? Well, maybe I'll open that then.
Well, maybe that's one for you.
For the kids, for the youths.
No, the aesthetics are very pure on this one. It's I don't think people.
I mean, some would say it was headache-inducingly detailed rather than pure.
Well, if you're not a fan of Baroque, I mean, I can't, there's no accounting for taste.
I like the fact that the two handles have gargoyles on the end.
Well, it's there's a bit of gothic touches in there as well.
That's
I
nice.
suppose. That's
I like that.
I'm glad you enjoyed those.
Yeah, they were lovely. Yeah,
I think the main thing you got to.
I mean, if you touch them, they cut your hands quite badly, don't they? So don't
again,
touch it.
it's function over form. As you know, the design mantra.
Mm.
Does it look nice, Chris? Two questions you've got to be asking yourself in the design space, Chris. Does it look nice, and is it really expensive?
Yes, and the answer is
yes and yes.
The answer is to some people maybe, and yes.
The answer is because of the second one being a definite yes. The first one must clearly also be yes.
So, have you got many orders in? From the likes of, I don't know, Jamie Oliver and Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton's bought one. Jeremy Clarkson's bought 3. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk has bought 300.
Yeah, well, he's talking about buying out the company, isn't he? Of course. Yes. To take some of the design flourishes to add to a Tesla.
I'm just waiting for a weed-related offer to come in for the public offering anytime soon.
Oh, and that's of course
they'll complain about the design of the wheelbarrow probably, and then try and withdraw it.
And then try and sue you.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Classic move, Iron Man. always 3 steps ahead, playing 3-dimensional chess.
Lovely stuff. Cool. All right. So
I've got to ask, Chris, what's a synthetic cannabinoid?
Oh, that's it's a kind of drug. So bath salts not only are the lovely magnesium salts that you put in your bath, not put on your chips, like to have a nice relaxing
Don't
bath.
inhale them. That relaxes me.
So
quite thoroughly.
So cannabinoids are a type of drug that stuff like cat and different drugs have in. And so synthetic ones are ones which are made in a lab, probably in China, and then people buy them over the internet, and they're called like bath salts or whatever, so that you can buy them, and then they take them as drugs and go crazy in America.
Oh, nice.
But bath salts are kind of street slang for this kind of drug, and they're not really sure what it does to people, but they have hallucinations and they're a bit amphetamine-y, and they run around going crazy.
So just when you want to get fucked up and really don't care about the consequences.
Pretty much, yeah. So
teenagers mostly.
No, if only. So I'm the spokesperson for both sides of the bath salts business. So the nice relaxing one, which, I've had a long day. What I want to do is really relax. So I'll put my Epsom's bath salts into a lovely hot bubble bath and dream my dreamy dream and whisk myself away to pleasure islands. Or, on the other hand, if you go, I've had a really bad day, I really want to get fucked out of my mind, hallucinate, take all my clothes off and go and punch a policeman. So I will snort some of my bath salts, dream my dreamy nightmare, run down the street and wake up in a cell or under a pier. So I'm kind of, they've got me to do both.
Sounds like
I came cheaper. If I doubled up, I offered them a discount to the second one. And there's less kind of TV and radio advertising on the second one, but I do a lot of whispering campaigns in the streets.
It's more social media based, or
social media, Instagram posts,
dark web,
Telegram channels, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. Getting a bit of money in. It's paying me better than this fucking podcast, tell you that much.
Sounds both fiscally and ethically responsible.
Look, at the end of the day, people can put into their bodies what they want. I don't believe that the government should tell people what they can and can't put in their own bodies. Though you should not. Don't try and legalise. What would you call it? Rule? What would be the term of the government trying to control your body?
I don't know. Monitor it. Don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, go and take some bath salts, people, or have some bath salts in your bath, depending on what kind of night you're after. There you go. Both, if you're really after,
It's a nice breaky night. Thrash around loads, screaming.
You do, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
man.
where you want to be.
Hey, that's all I'm saying. Yeah. So,
here's an urban legend, Chris, that may well have been evidence of the abuse of bath salts in Cornwall.
Yeah, which one?
So we're going to get on to the Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Oh, which time? I meant which time of bath salts?
Oh, I said abuse, but I just suppose you could abuse a lovely, cozy, warm bath.
Get all wrinkly fingers.
Yes. The ones you snort, whichever way you do those.
You don't have to snort them. No. That's a beautiful thing about it. You can also inject it, or you can just consume it, or you can smoke it as well.
Things to all, man.
Dealer's choice.
Nice.
That's why I think that bath salts are the cocaine of the future.
All three at once.
Yeah.
In a bath. Yeah. Bath basing.
Best to take it in a bath, yeah.
That's what did for Richard Pryor, wasn't it?
Bath salts.
Yeah.
Right.
That's demonstrably untrue, by the way. Okay.
But is it?
Or is it? Just ask me questions. Right, we move swiftly on to Cornwall Live, a source of news for all things Cornwall. And I know it's a bit confusing because you'll probably be thinking, is that Cornwall in America, or is that Cornwall in Connecticut, or is that Cornwall as per our last episode? But Yeah, or confused me anyway. But.
We just recorded the Dudley Town episodes where everything was in places with English names and Neil got confused, and now we're actually doing one in Cornwall, England. So we're having a very heavily Cornwall-based day.
I feel like I've been doing Bathsalts. I feel like this is a waking nightmare. But
which one?
We'll plough through. So this is Cornwall in the southwest of UK. Yeah.
Good.
It's about context, Cornwall. Chris. Context. Yes, Cornwall.
The Arthurian Cornwall, the seat of Tintagel.
Indeed. That great and mysterious county.
It's mysterious.
So, nothing captures the imagination quite like the possibility that a big and mysterious beast could be roaming wild in Cornwall.
Mm.
I'll extemporise a little bit on this one, because you've heard of the Beast of Bodmin Moor, I assume, Chris?
Yes, a big cat.
Big cat, isn't it, wandering around Cornwall?
Yeah.
In specifically the Bodmin Moor area, which is a moor in Cornwall. That's... I think it's been, I think they first had some sightings in the 70s, or I think 78 was when they first sort of saw some things. But it's one of those ones where, they keep on having sightings. And I don't know, have you seen photos of these?
Yeah.
And they do look like big cats.
Yeah.
But
Panthers.
It's one that's interesting because it's not the usual. I mean, they're not like completely sharp photos, but they are,
But
they're reasonably compelling photographic evidence. So, sightings of a massive black wild animal in 2016 in the Rock and St Tudi area are only 3 of numerous ones that have left people convinced that a massive wild animal is stalking the countryside.
What area?
This is the Rock and St Tudi area. Don't ask me where that is.
Rock and St Tudi?
Yeah, you'd think Trudy, wouldn't you? But it's not. It's Tudi. It's Tudy.
Tudi? Not two.
Like Tood.
Not the number 2 and then D.
No, Tudy, 2D, like Trudy without the R.
Okay.
Don't know what that's got to do with the Rock, but there you go.
Rock
and St Tudi.
ROCK.
So I'm thinking of the wrestler, The Rock.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a wrestler called St Tudi, but there should be.
I believe there is.
Yeah, this probably is, isn't there?
I believe there is.
Bless us from above, he says. In the
chucks
smash penitence.
Someone through a table covered in barbed wire.
So, over the years, mysterious shapes of big cats and sets of giant paw prints have fueled the idea that the famous Beast of Bodmin could actually exist.
Mm.
So, the beast said to be haunting Bodmin Moor, debatable, is described as a phantom wildcat, possibly with 2 sharp prominent teeth like those found on a leopard.
Ooh.
It was first spotted, it's in 1983, it says here.
Oh, so that's the first spotting?
Yeah, 1983. And since I thought I'd heard 78, but it says 1983 here. And since the first sightings, reports have flooded into the police's system.
1 year after I was born, Neil, is that a coincidence?
Well, I don't know. You tell me, Chris. Have you been wandering around Bodmin Moor recently?
This is a cat.
You attached to the animals?
Yes. Yeah, again,
2 sharp teeth. Yeah.
You already know the answer to all of these.
Yeah. Well, just letting it play out, the audience. They can unpeel it one bit at a time before we get to the end. Ridiculous twist that doesn't make any sense.
I'm the Beast of Bodmin Moor. and then that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah. Or was it all a dream? So in 2011, it was revealed that since 2000, 205 sightings have been reported in Devon and Cornwall Force area. So to the police, presumably. So that's
a lot of sightings.
Yeah, that's getting on for about 20 a year. It's not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean...
Just being asked to report it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, and I think,
fuck it.
I mean, there's a thing of confirmation bias involved, I would say, so that people there kind of think it exists. So if they see, I don't know, a deer, they think, it's
like a big fox or something.
Yeah.
From a distance.
But I mean, nonetheless, of all the things we've looked at, this is getting consistent reports.
Yeah. Because normally you'll see, like, I mean, I think we had, the Mad Hatter of Mattoon. There was a lot of
Mad
those, but they dried up. Sorry, the Mad Gasser, that was it. Yeah. But yeah, they dried up pretty sharpish. So yeah, reports included reports of a tiger on the loose and a beast digesting its dinner in a back garden. One call recorder was a member of the public from Axminster, Devon, who said, "The Beast of Bodmin Moor is on the top of my garden lying down digesting his dinner. I called you 30 minutes ago, re this." I mean, I imagine the police have probably got,
Not in
They're not going
Cornwall.
to send out a rapid response team to come and have a go at a beast in your garden.
MI5.
Yeah. I was just thinking like James Bond was going to paratroop down within 15 minutes. But half an hour, I thought, this big cat, you've done nothing.
Yeah, I mean, having looked behind the curtain of sort of the hierarchy of police incidents, spotting a mythical wild cat in your garden would be quite below like theft or mugging or violent crime.
Yeah, and I think they're probably not coming out that quickly for those either these days. But
no, they don't bother coming out at all. You do it. You fucking do it.
Well, I think I've told this story before, but yeah, Brenda and I, we ended up sort of chasing after some kids who nicked her.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, no. A friend of mine, he's some kids tried to steal his bike, and he saw them making up with one of the neighbours' bikes.
Yeah.
He went off running up after him. They all kind of ran off. They sort of wheeled it around like a couple of streets up and then ran away. So we were just there, and we were like, well, because we've gone quite a distance by this point, it's like we don't really want to like wheel it back ourselves, and it might look like we've nicked it. And we weren't entirely sure who it belonged to or what have you. So it's like, you didn't just want to leave it out loose on the street. So it's like,
you were trying not to contaminate the crime scene, Columbo.
Well, exactly. And it's not like I think they're going to come down and do fingerprints. But you just kind of like, well, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do here. So we'll better ring the police because people are trying to nick it after all. So,
yeah,
I'm not suggesting they would have been able to catch him on nothing, but then they could have, identified who the owner was, just let them know, and, whatever. Maybe filed a crime report, and I don't know if they'd need to do insurance at that point. It might damage it. But yeah, we waited there for about 45 minutes and saw no sign of them. So just knocked on someone's door who was nearby and just explained the situation and said if they do come by, can you just let them know?
Yeah.
It's right there. So.
Yeah, when I had my bike nicked when I was a kid, I got a new bike once ever, like, off the catalogue, obviously layaway, but and that got nicked after a couple of months, and I'd had it all like gone to police station, had it, coded and all of that. So, and called the police with it being nicked, and they went, yeah, no, we're not going to be able to get that for you. So probably just, get a new one. And it was at that point I realised that I'll have to dole out rough justice of my own. Realised that at the age of 13. And then they just went, nah.
Well, actually, even more, and it's not turning into an anti-police podcast or anything, but even more egregious one, my mum heard a truck had turned around and basically slammed in and smashed into her door really badly, like caved it, like halfway.
Her
car door, yeah. She was parked, she was like working, but she sort of run out and see what happened, and somebody had been on the street and they'd taken down the person's number. So I rang the police and it was like, oh, nothing we can do. And it's like, we've literally got I've got a witness here and it's the person's number. Nah, it's nothing we can do. Give you like a crime number and you can go and report to insurance. It's like, yeah, that's good, isn't it? And she was a bit like, well, I thought they could do forensics. I was like, well, they don't do forensics, Mum, but it's like, at the very least, they could look up.
But they've got a witness and they've got a witness. They can search.
They can look up, who's. Yeah. Like I say, like if it had just been somebody smashed in and they'd said, well, nothing we can do, I could understand that. But when there's a witness and they've written down the person's, you'd look it up, surely. And anyway, there you go. And that was when I realised, potentially depending on, where you are on the social scale, you may not be quite as important enough to
surprisingly
take up resources.
A surprisingly small percentage of crimes are actually ever solved.
Oh no, and I get, because a lot of it will be just, you won't have the resource or whatever to deal with. But for me, surely just looking up like a license plate has got to be like anyway. Apparently not. I'm sure there's good reasons for it.
No, there isn't.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, it just struck me as a bit egregious. How long is that going to take somebody? Half an hour? And I know it has to go through.
A lot of it's, and again, I'm not like, well, we'll end it on this, but a lot of it's political. So it's where the people from above are saying that crime stats need to go down, then because they've got limited resources, they have to pour resources in certain areas. So, that's a lot of what happened. I know that kind of, so, like violent crime and that kind of stuff, they'll pour all their resources into that. But that means they can't deal with any robberies or break-ins because that's what the politicians want them to do. So it is, although it's not quite the same as it is or it's getting more like it as it is in America and the UK, because in America it's all political and, you know, people getting voted in and then trying to become governor and all that kind of shit. We do now have kind of like police crime commissioners for each county, and they're voted for.
Yeah.
So, and I think they've got their eyes on politics, so it's becoming more the American model over here as well, which is, you know, where we want to go.
There we go. Going back to the Beast of Bodmin Moor, though, so they were called out on 28 separate occasions. 4 times they were able to attend, but took no further action to investigate.
They're scared of him.
Yeah.
I reckon he's got friends in high places.
You do wonder. Do you reckon he's like the cat owned by, I don't know, like Norman Tebbit or something? Hey, just foraging.
What's the guy who owns the Marquis of
Bath?
Is it him who owns Longleat Safari Park?
I believe so, yeah. He's the one who has loads of wives and wifelets. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon it's one of his.
Probably.
That's in Somerset, I think. So next to Cornwall.
Yeah, near enough.
Maybe he lets them out over the border to feed.
Yeah. Someone doing it on his own.
Go on then, off you go.
It's good exercise. Oh, he's a great character, isn't he? Yeah, so and they discovered giant paw prints near St Austell. So there's a photo. He held up a tape showing they were 4 inches wide. Wasn't sure what it captured, and several people commenting believe they've been left by a lion.
A lion? Wouldn't that be bigger than 4? 4 inches isn't that big. That's smaller than my hands.
I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be. The point is, it's not going to be like a fox or something, is it? That's quite. It's big. The lion you think would be bigger, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, this is why I think, and also because it's black, I think panther is more likely, and panthers are just jaguars, aren't they? But black. So, and jaguars are big, man. I saw when I went for my birthday last year. I went to a big cat sanctuary to have a look at the big cats, and jaguars are big.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
It could well be.
There we go.
So 2 months earlier, driving on as Duncan, it was just Duncan, I suppose, but anyway, saw a creature leaping out in front of him. Police took the sighting seriously and attended the scene in the clay pit between Nampion and Whitemoor in St Austell. A decapitated deer was discovered nearby. Duncan said they found a couple of prints, which I was pleased about because I thought, God, no one's going to believe me.
Oh, Duncan. He's a realist, isn't he?
Oh, you know.
No one's going to believe me. Poor old put up on Duncan. My boss going to kill me.
And I got a photo here of another big cat, which was pictured near St Austell. So it's like a big lad looking out by a lake, by the looks of it.
Oh.
So I think that was captured by a retired salesman, Sid Yates. He spotted the wild animal around 9 o'clock in the morning.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name's Sid Yates. Can I interest you in a new vacuum cleaner?
Now, I know what you're thinking. What if Beast of Bodmin Moor come trotting on my carpet? Don't worry, this'll get that old. Don't worry about that. Oh, I've seen big fucking cat this morning. He came out of the house, 9 o'clock, looked up the lane. There's the Beast of Bodmin. And he thought to himself, good God, there's another one.
Fuck me.
I don't know how often he sees massive cats. He might have been in the Bathsalts.
Well, I mean, he's a salesman, so he's roaming around the Cornish. He's going from motel to motel.
Constantly bumping into cryptids. It's a nightmare. There's a chupacabra. It's getting in my way.
Oh, no.
And waves it through.
I was staying in this motel just outside of St Ives, and you never guess who was fucking next door to me. Fucking Loch Ness Monster.
Oh.
Said he'd come down for his holidays and that. You know, seemed like a decent guy. You know, kept himself to himself. It was all right. Didn't see him at the breakfast buffet, but I'm sure he probably likes fish or like that. Kelp.
So apparently it looked a bit like a black Labrador, but had longer legs and tail and a flat nose. It was definitely the Beast of Bodmin and not a dog, Chris.
Not a horse.
Yeah, definitely not a horse. It definitely wasn't a Bathsalt-induced hallucination. It crossed the road and got in the stables near my house.
Bathsalt salesman. I'm travelling around Cornwall.
Oh, here we go.
What do you like to do of an evening? Do you like to have a nice night in, or do you like to run around screaming? Because I can help you with either.
So yeah, he's 72 apparently, and it was his third sighting during his lifetime, hence why he said, oh God, another one.
Yeah, fuck me.
Yeah, he saw one 2 years ago as he was driving around the area, and he saw it in his headlights. Again, he thought it was a black Labrador, and then realised it wasn't. Wasn't scared of him.
I think that he just really wants a black Labrador.
Yeah,
it's just
sounds like it.
Hinting through the press to his wife.
Yeah. Did you read that story about the
Black Labrador? That sounds nice, isn't it? Imagine having a black Labrador.
Oh, a Beast of Bodmin Moor. You'd want that in your garden, wouldn't you?
It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? It'd come up, lick your face, and roll around with it in the hay.
And then they spotted a girl, an animal prowling in the garden of a house on the outskirts of Plymouth. That's quite a way, isn't it?
Plymouth, no, it's Cornwall.
Oh, okay. Again, my geography's absolutely awful. Office worker Carol DeForges saw the creature from a living room and managed to get a few snaps of it through the window before it ran off.
Do you think that she was who the character Geordie LaForge was based on?
I would like to believe so.
Because
she's 59.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm feeling fine.
Yep. So she could have been. It doesn't say that she has like a whatever that thing was, an eye monitor thing.
Yeah, eye monitor thing. That was what it's called. To monitor the eyes.
No, I don't know. What would you call it? I mean, they're not like
a bionic
space spectacles.
Eye.
Bionic eye, yeah.
Yes.
Well, it was not a bionic eye exactly, because it was like what it actually was a headband that they just sprayed gold and strapped onto his face is what it was.
Yeah.
Just like a hair clip, but very uncomfortable apparently.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite heavy.
Yeah, the actor who played him was really good in an episode of Leverage Redemption.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
It was LeVar Burton in it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he was like a decent lad. So yeah, she wasn't sure what it was. People are suggesting it could be some kind of big cat. Puma and lynx have both been mentioned.
Or a black Labrador.
Could be a black Labrador, yeah, but with longer legs and tail and a flat face. Both have mentioned. She doesn't know what those are, but she's never seen anything like it before.
I mean, the fact that it's black does lead me to believe that it's a jaguar or jaguar, because they're the only black big cats. Panthers.
Yeah, it's tough to say that this photo of this one doesn't look that big actually, but it's a big fox. And then there's a dog leg found in St Mabin.
Dog leg?
Yeah. He just turned to his garden. There you go, severed dog's leg.
Was it his dog?
No, not by the look of it.
Was it the leg of a black Labrador?
It wasn't, unfortunately, but no, it looks like they've actually got a photo of it, which is quite horrible.
Oh.
It's like a white with sort of dapple grey. So, poor dog. So in 1995,
I just want to our global listenership, I'd just like to point out that in the UK we don't have any dangerous animals. Any that we did have, such as bears and wolves, we hunted to extinction upon these Fair Isles about 400 years ago. So we don't actually have anything that would naturally prey on a dog or something like that, or even a deer, really.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't, other than,
apart from man.
Yeah, the deadliest of all the creatures.
The mouthiest of all the apes.
Yes. So there was an official investigation into the Beast of Bodmin. In 1995, an organisation known as the Agricultural Development Advisory Service, that was part of the old Ministry of Agriculture, they wanted to look into this. So they gave them 26 days. ADAS, yeah.
Yeah.
Not Adidas. ADAS.
Not Adidas, different thing.
That's a piece of footwear for the sport-minded. I'm so good at describing things.
You're very good.
They spent 26 days.
That's a foot's covering for the Lively Bunch.
Yeah. Lively Bunch foot covering, yeah. LBFC. So they give them 26 days, something like just under a month, and 8,200 for two scientists. Or as he puts it here, maths answer to Mulder and Scully.
Oh.
To establish once and for all if the Beast of Bodmin Moor was real or fake. Do you reckon the Beast of Bodmin Moor was ever on the X-Files? Because they did used to do those Monster of the Week episodes.
No, but I remember one of these two mathematicians being in FHM once. So, I mean, maybe that was it.
That's entirely possible.
Because they had a really high profile.
Did you buy 3 copies of that, Chris?
Yep, ruined all of them.
Yep. Nice. So they wanted to establish whether there was, it was real or fake, and carry out a government-funded investigation. So they concluded it was not possible to prove big cats were not living wild in the countryside, but they were confident even if they were, they posed little threat to livestock. I mean, that's difficult. You can't prove a negative, can you? But
I'm not saying.
Yeah. So it was accepted at the start of the investigation that it would never be possible to prove that such animals did not exist. But it was believed that if they did, hard evidence would be forthcoming. Right. People helpfully supplied material for investigation and reported citing suspected livestock kills and injuries. No verifiable evidence for the presence of a big cat was found. There were only 4 suspected livestock kills in nearly 6 months, none of which gave any indication of the involvement of anything other than native animals and dogs. No significant threat to livestock from a big cat on Bodmin Moor was their conclusion.
Okay. I mean, you have to wonder if, with the abundance of wastage that humans produce, if it were, if they would turn to scavenging.
That's possible,
because if you don't have to run after something for your sustenance, why would you?
They just have like that half a cheeseburger that somebody's just dumped out from the McDonald's run.
Have some KFC.
I can't be bothered finishing this off. I'll chuck it on the floor. And then a puma goes, "Thank you very much."
Exactly.
Don't mind if I do. This hunting lark's so much easier in Cornwall.
The food doesn't move, does it? It's great.
It's all the grockles, isn't it, going down there with their second hands.
It's all the Londoners chucking out
their half-eaten weight trays.
Hummus,
food.
platter.
Yeah. You're a lynx. You're going to lap that up. Beautiful.
Yeah, lovely. Bit of teeny.
Put that back to the nest. Yeah. They won't eat. They won't eat wild. They won't eat like fox and dog anymore.
No, fuck that. No, I'm eating guinea fowl pate.
Yeah. So, are there any theories to explain the mystery? Of course. And the main one was made public in July last year when Benjamin Mee, the owner of Dartmoor Zoo, came forward and revealed that 3 pumas due to arrive there nearly 4 decades ago were released into the wild.
Why?
Well, we'll find out, hopefully.
Well, look, I'm going to come clean. 40 years ago.
Right. Mistakes happened.
Yeah, but they've said 4 decades ago, but the first one wasn't spotted 4 decades ago. 83, which is...
Well, that was the first 39. Sighting, but then maybe they were kind of like keeping a bit stum before... Right. Maybe they kept a bit quiet before that. I don't know. So the pumas were supposedly given their freedom.
Pumas.
Yeah, supposedly given their freedom by famous circus entertainer.
Would that be Puma the animal and not the foot colouring lively boys?
Leather-based athletic foot covering. I don't know. I assume it's the animal, not the.
Okay.
With the crucial cue of context.
Right. I don't understand context, which is why I'm constantly complaining to the BBC.
I'm inferring that it's an animal.
Okay. Just it's best to keep these things clear. We are on the internet.
Yeah, just say the pumas, by the way, not trainers, animals. It's just, something simple like that in brackets.
Yeah, not trainers or the Mexican soccer team.
No. I mean, it could get quite exhausting narrowing these things down.
So you haven't cleared that up. Is it not the Mexican soccer team?
It's not the Mexican soccer team.
And it's not the
footwear. We're talking about 3 wild animals, pumas, were supposedly given their freedom by the former circus entertainer and former Plymouth Zoo owner, Mary Chipperfield.
Ooh,
I don't believe she made furnitures or was a male stripper. That helps, because I know, I don't want to get this context.
She wasn't a male... You're thinking of Chippendales.
Oh, there you go.
And that's also the furniture maker. Yeah. So, if anything, you've muddied the water.
Fair enough. I strike my comment from the record.
Now I'm thinking of furniture making cats and stripping Mexican football teams.
Wow, I can't help what might go on behind your eyes. So apparently they were expecting a delivery of 5 pumas after the zoo was forced to close down in 1978. Rather than surrender them to another zoo, she's thought to have released her favourite breeding pair into the wild, plus a young male to keep them company. That seems reasonable.
Yep, threesome.
You wouldn't want to put them down, would you? So you just go like, no. Off onto Bodmin Moor with you, lads and lass then.
Well, I mean, it's possible. I mean, they'd be perfectly. They wouldn't have struggled with the climate or anything in the UK.
It's possible. It's possible.
And if they had a breeding pair and another male, and also cats will bang within their family, so that's all possible. Like in London, there's quite a lot of parakeets that live in London, and they're not natural, but it's people have released them over the years, and they've now kind of got a big flock of parakeets that live in London.
Colony. Yeah.
So I mean, it's possible if it was a breeding pair and another male, then they certainly could have expanded the family unit, I guess, incestuously. But cats don't care about that because they live by different rules, cat rules.
Hey, who knows? I suppose it's possible. I mean, they wouldn't live much more than sort of 12, 15 years, but yeah, if you assume that they were able to sort of like...
They lived to about, between 8 and 13 years. So,
okay.
They were a breeding pair, so...
No, but yeah, exactly, like if they'd had like, a few kids or whatever, then I suppose...
Well, if they'd had a litter...
They grew them up.
Let's have a look. How big is them? Big. Between 1 and 6 cubs per litter. So they can knock them out. They're like humans.
That's possible.
Like Catholics.
So Mr. Me, who bought Dartmoor's, you got me thinking now, that Monty Python sketch, won't get into that. Every sperm is sacred. Mr. Me, who bought Dartmoor Zoo in 2006, so there were lots of rumours, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, whether they were released from the old zoo, either by mistake or on purpose, we don't know, but there were supposed to be 5 turning up, and,
2 did.
2 did. There you go. So, this was back when zoos used to have, wild animals and things in them, which of course we don't anymore. Danny Bamping, founder of British Big Cat Society, said at the time the animals could easily have survived on the moor and might have strayed down to Bodmin and Exmoor.
Yeah. Well, they need about sort of each pair needs like a 30 square mile range.
Okay.
Which I know off the top of my head, not from the internet.
No, of course, no. It's just you obviously are familiar with the hunting ranges of various big cats.
Certainly am.
You need to know this kind of knowledge in living in Brighton.
To have house cats.
Yeah. So some of them think that she let them out the door, and she wasn't even obliged to report it because releasing exotic species wasn't legal until 1981. It was just brushed under the carpet. It's never come out until now. So she died in 2014, so of course he can ascertain that. But her husband has dismissed the claims. He now breeds rare white tigers in Spain.
Ugh, what a prick.
Yeah. And said, we had no dealings with the old Dartmoor Wildlife Park and certainly never released pumas or any other wild animals on Dartmoor. But yeah.
I don't like this guy already, though.
He breeds white tigers, though.
He's like a Tiger King character.
I'm already thinking of
on Costa del Crime.
Joe Exotic or something, just no red.
Yeah, he breeds white tigers for fucking drug dealers that live down in Marbella.
Oh, do you reckon a load of would-be Scarfaces?
Yeah, 100%. Of course.
Yeah. I'm just looking up another couple of sources because that's kind of where that one's finished up, to be honest with you. Great. Whatever. What's your policy?
I mean, the thing is as well, if you were a cougar, because kind of in the wild, they don't have any natural predators because they're apex predators.
Yeah.
But they would be competing with like wolves and grizzlies and stuff, whereas in Bodmin Moor, where you're competing with badgers, moles.
Yeah, you're going to have a fairly easy time with it, I think.
Yeah.
So I've just landed up... Sorry, Chris, go on.
I was going to say, there's plenty of, like I said, there's plenty of wasted food kind of, so they could scavenge and, they could take animals quite easily, It's not like we're geared up for... Well, I guess farms are sort of geared up to protect chickens and stuff from foxes, but that's about it. So... they could easily take lambs and stuff, couldn't they?
Yeah, no, it's entirely possible, and it's just looking through. So yeah, I mean, hey, it seems like you whether they would have survived and would have because they've been in captivity.
Well,
but yeah, I mean,
I don't think there's any doubt that they would have survived. I think, like, it's a temperate environment. It's kind of the warmest part of the UK. But I mean, they come from like their range, kind of in the Rockies, is all the way from the fucking Yucatan in Canada, where it's really snowy, kind of down to the Sierra Nevadas and stuff. So they're pretty adaptable. So
just looking at some other sort of sources, according to the Daily Mirror, they seem to have decided that it was a 12-inch cat. So this was a government investigation. I think this is just based on one photo that they analysed and probably decided it was just a big cat rather than.
Do you think this is a cover-up? Do you think that maybe because kind of down that end is where we do a lot of our military stuff? Do you think that maybe we're breeding super cats?
Well, I think it's probably actually covering up a whole kind of Masters of the Universe military scenario, I would imagine.
Really?
So Thundercat's just the tip of the iceberg. So they're trying to breed wild animals that, steroid inflicted gentlemen who can use the power of Grayskull to.
But the thing is, kind of that area of the country is massively, like, it's probably one of the least populated. I mean, apart from like the Highlands, but in England, I guess, it's really kind of sparsely populated. So you can kind of see how they could, and it's not large in kind of context of like America or whatever, but I mean, the West Country's fairly large. Yeah,
and cats do go out and go missing. I remember speaking to a guy who used to be he was an ex-copper once where I was working, and he'd actually had to go and try and sort of, I think they'd gotten loose from a zoo or something like that. There was some big animal that they had to sort of try and track down. So I guess it happens from time to time, and maybe I think it was probably a lot less controlled, probably in the sort of 70s and stuff. So
it sounds like they were just released, and I can kind of imagine some kind of crazy circus person if you
believe that particular story, which is
I choose to.
It's possible, I guess. Whether they'd still be breeding all these years later,
why wouldn't they be?
I don't know. It's quite a small stock, isn't it?
Not really.
Hey, it's all possible, Chris. It's all possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm buying a lot of this. I'll tell you now, I'm buying it. I'm hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker. Oh, well, fair enough. You sound a bit more convinced to me. I'm just going to look up one other place, and it's the Independent seems to want me to register for it, which I'm not going to do, but I'll try later. Here we go. So I just want to read out a few quotes from some farmers in the area.
Okay.
It was a cruel but clean death. She died of a broken neck, stomach ripped from sternum to leg, but the telltale signs were 4 long scratch marks, which Rosemary Rhodes thinks identifies the killer of her ewe, the Beast of Bodmin Moor. Mrs. Rhodes and the other North Cornwall farmers have complained for 12 years about the beast. This is in 95, by the way, Chris, this article's from 95. Okay. Or beasts which terrorise livestock. They believe up to 17 black and brown pumas, panthers or dark leopards could stalk the area. At last they're being taken seriously, and then it talks about the guy from the Agricultural Development Advisory Service. Apparently it was a chap named Charlie Wilson. They said it was 2 of them.
From the Gap band.
It's entirely
you dropped a bomb on me, baby. Yeah, that's Charlie Wilson.
Yep. So he had $8,000 in 26 days to assemble evidence of the beast.
And
I'm just looking through the other bits. So the farmer, John Goodenough, that's his name, John Goodenough, a shiny... I've got a feeling this article may have been written by some man. The farmer, John Goodenough, a shiny, weather-beaten man with tremendous whiskers, warns those on the hunt, you'll know when the beast's there. There'll be no rabbits or foxes about, and the birds stop singing. That's the call for caution.
Ooh.
And the way they kill, if it's a dog, there's wool and trouble everywhere. Cat goes in, kills and eats. Very little mess. Mrs. Rhodes of neighbouring Ninestones Farm adds a description. Its eyes are great yellow orbs, and it has a foul scream like a woman's, but 100 times magnified. So they went off to the National Sound Archives for a puma mating call, and when they heard the tape, they fell about, because that's what they'd been hearing through the kitchen window.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the beast was costing Mr Goodenough $1,000 in livestock. That's plenty.
I would like to just point out that Dartmoor's actually in Devon, not Cornwall, as well. So it's not just Cornwall that it's going about.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, she's got some video in the backyard, sent it out to the NFU. Father Michael Cartwright, priest in charge of
cats.
Yeah, because I can't pronounce it. Alternern with Belventa, which apparently is some area in the local area, believes it exists. Some reliable people who have seen it are not the sort who go into the realms of fantasy. People around here aren't given to lying.
Says the priest. Sorry.
What about the landlord of the Rising Sun Inn in neighbouring St Clever, who added, I know someone who's positive he saw it. There's a fair amount of scepticism. The government got to remember animals don't generally pose for photos.
Mm.
And then at the nearby Jamaica Inn, made famous by Daphne du Maurier, there's a farmer who reckons he came close with it at 1 o'clock in the morning. Pointing to the fence where it stared at him and a friend, he said it jumped off there and went into the forest, making a squeaky, squealing noise. We decided to follow it. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. We shone the lamp around, crouched down and caught its eyes, sort of bright white. Then it went off at a fair old rate. We saw it was about 3 foot long, tail of 18 inches. Yeah. Just looking to see if there's any other things about sightings. So, Charlie Wilson's doing what he can to. He's doggedly carrying out his research,
bringing out funk albums,
compiling funk albums and compiling reports of convincing sightings. But that's not sufficient for Mrs. Rhodes and Mr Goodenough.
Ugh.
Charlie Wilson's
nothing's good enough for that guy.
Clearly not good enough should be his name. He's a very nice man, but the ministry's given him a job without the tools to do it, said Mr. Rhodes. The ministry's taken the easy way, reassuring people there's no danger. In the last war, Churchill told people to fight on the beaches. He didn't reassure them and say, go home, folks, everything will be all right.
Yeah, and I think that the Beast of Bodmin Moor and the war machine of Nazi Germany are very, very similar.
Well, I'll just quickly, because these are some great quotes, Chris. I'm just going to quickly finish these. So, Mr. Goodenough agreed. He's agreeing with himself apparently. Tis rubbish, totally rubbish. Our masters should have the bottle to come and talk to us. They go to university and get their heads so full of academics, there's not a bit of room for common sense. He said.
Preach.
So there you go.
I mean,
Bish-bosh.
Yeah, and I would also a bit uncomfortable with him calling them our masters.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a couple of colourful characters at the end here.
Time traveller, Mr. Goodenough says. Okay, so you got some more quotes from Mr. Goodenough.
Mr. Goodenough, or nothing's ever good enough.
He sounds like the kind of straight talking, no nonsense person that maybe we need to lead this country. The slogan: "Good enough for Cornwall, good enough for Britain." Something like that.
Exactly. So he didn't go to university and get his head so full of academics. There's not a bit of common sense.
Exactly.
It's ram full of common sense, Chris.
Yeah, just
that's what we need.
Got it spilling out.
Yeah. So they've got a solution. Why don't you ask them?
Stuff full of it, like a piping bag full of common sense.
Exactly.
Just point where you want
spewing it out.
Point where you want the common sense to decorate the country.
Along. Yeah.
Exactly. Beautiful.
So what do you think the solution is, Chris?
What, the Beast of Bodmin Moor?
Yeah.
Negotiation.
No. We need to tell people the difference between cat and dog prints. We need a national investigation and a central board of intelligence taking calls from all over the place.
Right.
We must give out information. If you meet the beast, you don't bend over or run. You must face it, shout, chuck things, and become aggressive, and it'll move off.
Don't bend over what? So
I'm not sure what she thinks is happening. Yeah, I don't know. Might be some bit homophobic in there. This was 95, so yeah. Neither farmer wants the beast shot. Interestingly,
no.
We should go to America and bring back the men and dogs who keep panthers under control there. Added Goodenough. They can drive them up and shift them onto a reserve. I don't know where he imagines this reserve is happening.
The Somerset levels.
Yeah. We're not doubting. So Mr. Wilson sighs. He's the government scientist and says, we're not doubting the honesty and sincerity of people, but if we're going to submit a report and do something, we need to see hard evidence. All this Hound of the Baskerville stuff, nobody remembers the hound turned out to be a fake. So you won't be wearing a deerstalker then, I ask. No, and no tweeds either. I'll be wearing welly boots, jumper and jeans when I go out looking, he says.
And 2 6-shooters. And a Stetson. I don't know. You've got 2 extremes here, haven't you? I mean, he basically seems like the government guy, like it's just a bit of a jolly for him and he just already doesn't believe it. I mean, I don't really know.
I mean, presumably he's having to sort of like try and track over like a very large area, and it's a bit of a hiding to nothing. So, you know,
Yeah, but
it's what he's been tasked to do. So
yeah, and he's meant to be a scientist.
Yeah, no, I think all he's trying to say is that they need to get. So I think he's there to do that.
Oh yeah, how to the bestial stuff. No, actually, mate. No, I've actually got animals here that have been mauled by an unknown creature, so it's not quite fucking Sherlock Holmes, Hound of the Baskerville stuff.
Yeah, but he's having to deal with Mr Goodenough. So,
yeah, but that's your fucking job, mate. Do you know what I mean? Right? I don't like the attitude this guy's got. I think typical big science going. I've kind of decided what it is before I go in.
Cut of his jib. It's good boxing.
You like him?
Good hustle, Charlie Wilson.
Yeah, well, I'm with. Yeah, well,
you and Mr Goodenough can get on Jamaica.
Stick to early 80s funk, I would say. To
mumble incoherently. So yeah.
Nothing incoherent about common sense, Neil. Only a scientist lover like you would say that.
Yeah, it's got filled up with all the academics.
Yeah, you did, yeah. You went to university. Do you know I went to the University of Common Sense called the Real World, Neil? Not like you. Getting your head filled up with books, whereas I was getting my head filled up with the word on the street.
Yeah. Common sense, practical notions worked out well for everyone recently, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, if it had been used at all, then probably yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
I think, potentially there's a happy medium.
Common sense is what the order of the day
and common sense, you can probably combine the two.
Well, academia basically should be common sense, shouldn't it? Because you look at something and go, right, that's what it is. Occam's razor.
Anywho, right. So it's not a big.
Got any more? To be honest, got any more? Did he spit back, Mr.?
No, there's been no more. I mean, to be fair, no. I think he's kind of like doing the best he can in a bad situation. I mean, no, Mr. Goodenough had nothing else to say. I just thought he's a colourful little character to introduce him. There's lots of other side things. There's lots more, but it's it's more of the same. To be honest with you, there's been quite a few photos taken. There's been a lot of animal attacks, and there's definite belief in the area that there is something going on. So it's quite compelling, I think. There's
I think there's more there than I thought there was, Neil.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot more there.
It's not nothing. Let's put it like that.
I think it'll be quite a high scorer.
But there's not there's not much more to say in terms of, the sightings are what they are. It's not like he comes out of a hellmouth or fucking,
I mean, when will Charlie Wilson, kind of finally admit that there's something when we're all living on the streets and the big cat's living in our houses?
Well, yeah.
No? What do we go? Well, it's no Sherlock Holmes.
Maybe that's his agenda.
Do you reckon? He's in the pay of Big Cat?
Rewilding, yeah, exactly. Rewilding the Cornwall, one county at a time.
Not a bad idea.
Next thing you know, Brighton will be run by
seagulls,
llamas or something. Yeah, seagulls would make more sense. Well, a combination of llamas and seagulls, because it's quite hilly, isn't it? So you'd have llamas up on the high points and seagulls.
I think, yeah, maybe. I know that there's out of my window very often now. There's a fox that comes and sits in my neighbour's garden. He's really nice. Say hello to him. I like foxes. They're going to be the next animal that move in with humans, I reckon. So, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk more about training gear, or do you want to move into the scoring section of the show?
Shall we go schools on the doors?
Yeah, all right then. Suppose so. So, Neil, with your wonderful scientific mind full of nonsense and stuff which is not common sense.
Hillbilly academics, pushing out all common sense.
Hillbilly academics. Spookiness, Neil. Why don't you tell me what the fuck you think?
So, some on this. I think if you were like being hunted down by a big cat in the middle of the night, I mean, I think the primary thing I've heard from Mrs Goodenough or whatever her name was is, don't
drop your trousers.
Don't try and be sexually assaulted by a cat. I mean, I'd agree with that. That's probably a sound advice.
That's common sense.
Yeah, I mean, even as filled with the academics as I've filled my head, I wouldn't be thinking of doing that. So still a bit of common sense left in there, apparently. But yeah, no, I think I could see it being quite frightening. Although they're probably only attacking animals. I doubt they're
not going to hunt
nothing
human.
about that. Yeah, not really. So probably not that big on the spooky style, but it would still shit you up if you ran across one at sort of 1 o'clock in the morning. But it's probably not the spookiness that's in this one, so it's probably a 5 for me on that scale.
5, yeah. It would be horrible and a bit spooky to find like animals have been slaughtered kind of during the night. And I guess seeing something completely out of the ordinary in your car headlights is weird. But it's not spooky per se. It's unusual. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a very high spookiness for me because there's nothing here kind of it comes into your house or anything like that. It's that it's not spooky. It's just it's an out of place natural creature. So I'm going to go with the spookiness of 3 on that.
Fair days.
Believability. Now, this is going to be one of the highest ones for me because A, nothing supernatural here, right? It's big cats. B, fuckloads of eyewitness testimony and actual photographic, and I use the term loosely, evidence. C, there's actually, there's suggestion and a very believable suggestion, I would say, that this person who had the circus and it was shutting down and was having to give the animals away to another place, let her 3 favourite ones go. Because I can see how if you were close to these animals and you were going through something where you're losing your circus, your livelihood and that, you're going to be in a stressful position anyway. And I could see you just going, go. Do you know what I mean? I could see that happening. The fact that there was a breeding pair and another male means that despite the fact the animals only lived to kind of 12, 13, that they could have had litters and it could have continued. And they're also in an area which is actually pretty fucking good for them, like good weather. They're not having to deal with harsh winters. They've got no other competition. So despite what funk legend Charlie Wilson says, I think this has got a fair bit of believability to it. So for me, it's going to be a 9-0.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I just want to do another thing on this, because he's not come out and said, well, it's completely impossible. And the very fact that they actually got a government scientist to come in and look into it seriously means there must be some possibility. So I think, the only thing for me is because it's an apex predator and there is actually no competition, you would theorise that actually shouldn't they have, I don't know how long it'd take, but in theory they should actually overbreed to the point where they start becoming a pest almost, because they've got no natural predators themselves. So you would think, they would there would be enough of them that it would become like there'd be no question left anymore. You would just start spotting them out in the wild. Maybe that will happen in time to come. I don't know.
I think because of the size of them, they're not like knocking out hundreds of kids. They can have up to 6, but normal kind of breeding pair will produce 2.
Yeah.
And, and it hasn't been that long. It's been, my lifetime.
No, agreed. So
you're talking maybe 4 generations of them.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how many generations you'd be talking about to get to a point where it was. So I'm not discounting that. But yeah, other than that, I mean, there's nothing supernatural, as you say. Believability's got to be a high one on this one. There's nothing inherently completely unreal. They did bring in a government, so he couldn't find evidence, but he couldn't
not find evidence.
You can't prove a negative, but he didn't knock it down immediately and say, like, this is clearly incredibly unlikely, or, it's not going to happen. He was actually out there looking for evidence. So they're taking it seriously enough to at least fund something. So yeah, I'm going to have to give it a 9 as well. It's probably about I'm not sure what a 10 would look like, but it's going to, I'm not, how much more, but I'm not saying that I necessarily think that.
Well, if they actually caught one, then it would be a 10 if it was a proven thing.
Yeah, but then it's almost fact rather than believability, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway.
Cool. All right. Narrative premise now. Difficult one.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, this. I think it's probably another one that's a bit down the middle on thing for me as well. I think you'd have to focus a lot more on the... well, I think, if you take into account whether it was true or not, there's someone releasing them into the wild, there's kind of like a bit of a... there's a sort of a that movie called? The Lady with the Lions.
Lion King.
3.
Gorillas in the Mist.
Gorillas in the Mist. That was Gorillas, I believe. No, there was.
Really?
I can't. It was called something like Run Free or Cry Free or something like that.
Right. Godfrey.
Yeah, Godfrey and his lions. Lions. No, I can't remember. Can't remember the lady's name, but she worked with animals and lions out in the anyway. Whatever. So yeah, I think animal movies are sort of quite popular, aren't they? I think, but yeah, there's not. It's kind of just it's just some cats kind of like eating things. So I don't know how much we're going. So I'm going to go in the middle and give it a 5.
Cool. So, I mean, it's good enough to have captured the public's imagination. I mean, it's very well known. If I asked my mum, Beast of Bodmin Moor, she'd probably know what it was, right? So, it's captured people's imagination in this country. There's plenty of reports on it. I mean, I quite like, I don't know, it's something quite exciting that there could be, big cats hiding away,
roaming around
in the southwest of England. I guess this is how things get started because, horses aren't native to North America. They were brought over there. Do you know what I mean? Like, so animals do move around. Cats aren't native. House cats aren't native to most of the world, but they're fucking everywhere. So you never know. Could end up having loads of them in the next 50 years, like if they hit a tipping point. I quite like it. So I'm, and it's got the kind of why it happens stuff. So I'm going to give it a 6-0.
Cool.
So, reach. Well, in the UK, big. It's big reach. It's not massively old. It's about as old as me. And I don't know how... I think... I've definitely seen that there are other podcasts about Beast of Bodmin Moor and stuff. So I think it's got some international stuff, but not like Loch Ness Monster big and that kind of stuff. But it's one of our bigger ones. But yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for me to give a fair mark on it because obviously I've heard of it my whole life, really. So I'm going to give it a 7-0.
Yeah, probably similar for similar reasoning, to be honest with you, Chris. So, it's a rare one that I actually know and have heard about in the Beast of Bodmin Moor. If you're in the UK, you'll know it all around the UK, I think. It's, but yeah, I suspect, I mean, nowadays it's probably more, people who are interested in this kind of thing, you'll end up finding out about it in those kind of circles. I don't know though, because it's something like Chupacabra. I mean, we all know about that, and that's quite, it's quite a weird one. It's kind of like more of a Mexican thing, but it's quite well known. So, but as you say, I don't think we're really in a position to know. So I don't know how well known it would be outside of the UK, and it isn't that old, but I think it's one that will endure a bit. So yeah, I'll give it a 7 as well.
And that gives us an overall score of 51, which isn't too bad. One of our higher ones.
Not bad at all.
And isn't that exciting, everyone? That we definitely 100% now have cougars or mountain lions, as they're also called, living wild in the UK. Soon to probably overtake the whole country, and they can't do a worse job than we are. So if you've seen any kind of mysterious, out-of-place animals or anything like that... Oh, that was something which I was going to say. Now, shall we have a look at some of those, what are called, out-of-time objects? They're quite interesting, aren't they? Where you find, like, a rock that's 1,000 years old with a digital watch in it or something like that. Ooters.
Sounds good.
We'll have a look at some of those. So if you know any of those you want us to have a look at, that was at those Russian nano springs.
Spirals, yeah.
Then let us know at herb.legends.podcast@gmail.com. But yeah, beyond that, if you are approached by a dangerous animal, your first instinct should not be to drop your trousers and bend over. I think that's a lesson which I instinctively feel I knew, but clearly it needed pointing out and underlining for some people. So if you take anything away from that episode, let that be it. But apart from that, I will see you next time. Goodbye.
And goodbye.